Well, hey guys, it is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. It has been a very fun weekend. We had Flo Follies show, which was Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday. And to say the least, it is tiring. Definitely a lot of fun, but a lot of work and very, very tiring. Yes, we're back on our regular schedule. We did get the shows out on time, so I do thank you for your patience on that. I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. Welcome to Inspirations for Your Life. It's the daily motivational show, the show that helps you become a better version of yourself. Guys, if this is your very first time here, I want to take the opportunity to say thank you to you. A big, warm thank you to you. Thank you for being here. And so, if you have been here before, I want to say welcome back. It's great to have those that appreciate the quality of my content and want to keep making their lives even better day in and day out. If you're hungry, or you're thirsty, I don't want you to be famished or obviously not being able to eat or drink. So definitely go grab something from your fridge if you'd like, and then come on back and we'll kick off the show. So you can do that real quick. Also, if you are new here or not, don't forget to check out believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, of course, inspiring creations, which are available 24 hours a day at believemeachieve.com. You can get my short form content, my long form content, and yeah, so much more. So definitely check that out, guys. I think you're going to be very, very pleased with it. And yeah, so definitely, please check that out now. And actually, after the show, not now. So, without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and kick this show off. Today is February 8th, 2026. Hopefully, your team won in the Super Bowl. I won't get too into that, but it was an interesting Super Bowl. Anyway, so again, welcome. It's great to have you here with me. This is part of the master topic. We're on Series 5, which means we're in the 5th year. We've been on the air over 4 years. Series 7, episode number 2, From Fear to Forward, Inner Safety and Emotional Strength. Yeah, that's what we're about here. So welcome to Inspirations for Your Life. Like I said, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur and engineer, marketing specialist, video producer, podcast host, coach, keynote speaker, graduate student, and a passionate lifelong learner. This week's master topic theme, it's simple. It's basically very powerful, from fear to being forward. Not by forcing confidence, but by pretending fear doesn't exist, but by building something stronger than fear and what it elicits, inner safety. Because when you feel safe inside, you don't rush, you don't spiral, you don't give your power away. Today is all about emotional strength, the kind that steadies you, the kind that carries you forward, even when conditions, well, let's face it, guys, they may not be perfect. There may never be a perfect time. Yeah, I think that's an important thing, to understand. A lot of people don't, and it causes people to derail. Okay, yeah. So our first thing I want to go over is what inner safety really is about. Inner safety is not comfort, guys. It's not avoidance. It's not staying small. Inner safety is the ability to remain grounded while life applies pressure. Okay. It's knowing you can feel discomfort without falling apart. It's trusting yourself to handle what comes next. It's staying present instead of panicking. You see, most people think confidence comes first. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. And some people are like, oh, wait, I got to get the confidence first, then I can do what I want to do. Well, sure, you could actually do that, but that's not gonna help you. It's not gonna help you because of the premise that I'm talking about, guys. And the premise is that you have to know who you are. And I think those are important things. A lot of people think that you can just do something and then bam, it happens. But there's planning that has to go on, behind the scenes. So I think that's a really important thing right there. So safety, guys, comes first. Confidence grows from safety. Let me say that again. Safety has to come first, and then confidence grows from our safety. When your nervous system feels supported, your mind clears up, your decisions become sharper, your reactions well, they slow. See, that's real pure strength. And it's not being in a reactive mindset, it's being in a proactive mindset. And I think that's something, again, that a lot of people, well, I'm just going to say this, that they don't really get. Okay. Um, yeah, people just don't seem to get, like, what that is. All right. And so maybe you're gonna say to me, John, I don't quite understand. I don't quite understand it. But in time, you're gonna appreciate it more. You're gonna appreciate it more. And that moreness is going to hopefully propel you to a completely new level. All right. A very, very new level. And again, it's not something you just click your fingers and bam, it happens. It does not work like that, folks. I'm sorry to tell you. That's not how it works. Um, the way it works is pretty interesting. And that is understanding emotional safety. So, why emotional safety fuels confidence? So let's dive into that section, okay? Um, and tonight, we don't have as many points, but we have bigger subtopics that encompass more. So, why emotional safety fuels confidence? Confidence without safety, it's brittle, right? It's like having a very thin piece of paper without the proper backing, it just is going to kind of fall apart. It cracks under stress. But, okay, confidence built on inner safety is durable, sustainable. When you feel safe, you don't chase for validation. You don't look for it. You don't over explain things. You don't freeze under pressure. So I had an interesting thing today. I was with somebody, and they kind of, I won't say they were rude to me, but I will say they were um, disappointing me. I always expect people to be nice and that, but then when their world kind of goes, let's say, south, then if you're not helping them, suddenly, well, they don't have time to talk to you, which I think is really, really bad. So you don't freeze under pressure. Okay. That's the most important thing. You don't freeze under pressure. And a lot of people do. You respond instead of reacting. So responding, okay, and being proactive rather than retroactive, that's what makes a very, very huge difference. Okay. You respond instead of reacting. I've said before, even with planning for, so there's no fire, it's better to be proactive than reactive. Reactive is a quicker, and a lot of times we miss things. Approval becomes optional. Reassurance becomes internal. And the fear, well, it loses leverage. Unfortunately, guys, it loses leverage. And this is why I want to tell you that calm people often outperform the loud ones. Now, you might say, well, gee, John, they're getting more attention. Yeah, they're getting more attention, but they're also causing more problems. They are causing more problems. And that's an issue for a lot of people, right? It's an issue for a lot of people. And maybe you're going to say to me, John, well, that doesn't happen to me. Okay. I think sometimes we want a result, but then when the result doesn't happen, we think we can just re-engineer it. But that's not how it works. We can't make somebody do what we want. We have to understand what their motives are. All right. Because when we get somebody to see something from another point of view, that's not changing their view like in a rough way. That's saying, hey, I'm on this side of the fence and there's been no water on this side. This side has plenty of water. I need some water here. My grass is going to die. You get my point. They're not distracted by the emotional noise, which happens day in and day out. They are regulated, they are focused, and they are grounded, folks. They are grounded all the time, not just like for 5 minutes. And then like, oh, I don't need to do this anymore. Yes, you do. You need to do this all the time. I think that's a very important thing. So section 3 here, doing this by sections today instead of bullet points. Building trust with yourself is so fundamental. Um, I was speaking to somebody before. I was actually via a text, and I always keep the people I speak with. I keep that confidential. But it was somebody I was talking. It was just a fan, and they responded back to me with, patience grasshopper. And I wanted to put this because this is very apropos. It's like things happen and they happen for a reason. Okay. Does anybody know where the phrase came from? Does anybody know where the phrase came from? Patience, grasshopper. Does anybody know where that came from? Where do you think that came from? So it's been around for a while. Okay. It's been around for quite a while. So you've heard the phrase, I'm sure. But the quote and its origins are pretty important. Although Patience and Young Grasshopper came around 1984 from the Karate Kid, it's not where the common said phrase actually originated from, although we know it from Karate Kid. The phrase actually comes from a television show called Kung Fu, and the lead character, Kawhi Chang Kane, played by David Carradine, often thought back to his early years training as a Shaolin, a monk in Asia. During this training, his blind Chinese master would say, "Patience, young grasshopper," to him. And the sentence was first uttered when the ignorant Canaan asked his blind master how he could function without eyesight. Poe asked Kane to close his eyes and describe what he could hear. After he described the water flowing and birds chirping nearby, Kane asked if he could not hear his own heartbeat or the grasshopper at his feet. And this is where the endearing name Grasshopper originates. Master Pro used to call his student Grasshopper, signifying patience as an important and ideal skill for a martial artist. It was mostly used as a term of affection, letting Kwai know that he was much less experienced than Master Po. What does patience, young grasshopper, really mean? Okay. In the source material, grasshopper, quote unquote, it's used by a wise elder to describe a naive, inexperienced, or unskilled person. Generally, grasshoppers are constantly jumping from one point to the next without very, let's say, much going into their thoughts, acting in an impulsive and irrational way. The master may be slower, but he's wiser and understands what is important to him because he is more aware of his surroundings. The younger student is still jumping about, not thinking about his next move, which is very negative in martial arts. You have to always be thinking about the next move. On the other hand, patience is considered one of the most powerful martial arts practices and key skill to learn in life. In fact, patience in martial arts is considered an antidote to anger because being angry with someone can stop you from focusing on your true desires and can lead to you losing what you're fighting for. Thus, patience is a discipline that needs us to understand that has to be learned, especially by young people who tend to prefer knee jerk reactions. So, altogether, this phrase, patience, young grasshopper, Master Po is essentially telling Kane to have patience and pay attention to the smaller things around him. It's used in other media, quotes, memes. The phrase also appeared in a few other TV shows over the years, most notably Patience Young Grasshopper was also featured in the 1985 movie, The Karate Kid, which included Mr. Miyagi teaching David LaRusso about karate. In nearly all circumstances, the phrase is used when an elder is trying to teach a younger person or student something. It has also evolved into the phrase, the grasshopper becomes the master. So patience you must have, my young Padawan, is another version of this phrase, which is commonly misattributed to Yoda in Star Wars. Yes, the franchise. It's not actually said by any character, guys, but it could easily fit into the themes of the franchise. Now, you'll see Patience Young Grasshopper used in lots of different ways and contexts, from training your dog to planting flowers in your garden. You'll also see lots of guides and articles with the phrase in the title or in its content. Yes, Patience Young Grasshopper and its meaning has evolved as language often does. One such usage of the phrase is commonly seen among younger generation in relation to IT and tech. It's used when a person, let's say, is given a problem and is testing someone to a breaking point. This is because lots of people in tech are young and eager, but often miss key points at the start of their careers because they're trying to jump ahead too early. For example, let's say, so there are different levels of the OSI model. I'm not going to get into that today, but there's one level called the physical layer. And so many people start at the application or a higher layer, and they forget that 99% of all issues are physical. So the physical layer are things like cabling, okay? Are things connected correctly? Is there, is something wrong on that level? So that's the most important thing. Is there something wrong at that level? Is it a cabling level? Is it a connection? Is the device even present? Okay. So what does it mean if someone says this phrase to you? So if someone says patience, young grasshopper to you, is it good or bad? Well, the context is everything. As it said earlier, patience, young grasshopper is often said to someone who is rushing through something and not thinking straight, like the source material we heard. It is usually said by someone who is more respected, older, or in a position of power. Sometimes it is said in an ancient mimicking a character from one of the other materials. If you're a young apprentice in training, someone above you in the work chain may call you a grasshopper. It's probably in affection, but you may see it as patronizing and see it as an elder trying to remind you that they know more than you. Don't lose heart on it, okay? They're trying to help you. I think that is the most important thing to realize. The true meaning of the phrase is simple, yet it is very deep. So if somebody says that, it probably means that you're hopping around an awful lot, all right? So I just wanted to share that. So inner safety is built through self-trust, and patient young grasshopper is a very good way to understand that. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, trust grows a little more. Every time you regulate instead of react, trust grows a little more. Every time you choose presence over panic, trust grows again. Now, self-trust isn't about being perfect, okay? It's about being consistent, okay? When you trust yourself, you don't need external permission to move forward. You already know you'll handle what comes next. That's emotional strength. And in the next major part here, calm as a form of strength is very key. Calm is not passive. Calm is powerful. Calm is the ability to stay clear when others rush. Calm is leadership, okay? Under pressure, basically. Calm is confidence without an ego. The strongest people in the room are rarely the loudest people in the room. They're the steadiest people. We've talked about this before. A lot of people think that if they get your attention by yelling or screaming, yeah, they're going to get your attention, but how long are they going to hold it for? Not very long. Calm and steady wins the race. Calm allows you to see options, read situations, make better choices. See, that's why calm is a competitive advantage that a lot of people miss. Our next major block is number 5 is self-soothing under pressure. One of the most overlooked skills, guys, today is self-soothing. So self-soothing doesn't mean avoiding problems. Nope, doesn't mean that. It means regulating your internal state so problems don't control you. I'm going to give you an example. The other night, I was at Flow Follies and we were finishing up. It was actually our very first night. It was actually Friday night, okay, just a few days ago, and that was February 6th. So our show started at 7 o'clock, or actually 7:05. It was a little late, but we usually start at 7. And so I had got there a few hours earlier because call time was like 2 hours before. Got all dressed, everything was fine. And I remember that night there's this one lady I had, they were collecting money for like a card for a couple of people that were helping us. One was a choreographer, there was a second choreographer. So they were collecting money. So I said, you know what? I am going to get money out of my wallet, put it in my jeans, and I'm going to get so I'm going to take some money for that. I'm also going to take some money to buy one of my staff members a ticket, which incidentally he couldn't make because the snow wasn't shoveled and it was just a complete disaster. But anyway, what happened, which was very interesting, is that I had taken that money out, so I did buy the ticket. That was number one. And I had taken the other money to give this lady, but there was another part that I owed because I thought it was going to be like one amount, but it was like double because they raised it or whatever, for whatever reason. So anyway, I was there, and again, I went back to my dressing room, And then the end of the night came. You know what happened? My wallet wasn't in my bag. And so I kept trying to go through my head and, I was like, where is it? Where did I put it? I kept walking through my steps. And the show ended. It was like about 9:30 or so, but I stayed a little bit longer trying to look for my wallet, and the producer actually helped me as well. And we didn't find it. Now, a lot of people would have been like freaking out, like you would imagine. I said, well, I have, the light protection service monitoring, so I'm not worried. And I hadn't gotten any alerts about my credit cards being used or anything. But they were having a cast party, and she said, well, if you need money, I can loan it to you. I said, well, I have Apple Pay, so if they take it, I can pay the bill with my iPhone. Okay. Now, most people would have freaked the heck out. I didn't. I came home, did a little bit of brainstorming, and I still, ladies and gentlemen, didn't have it. So I said, you know what? When I go in there, I'm going to go in there early the next day, which was Saturday. I went at 3:00. Okay. And I got there, and I said, first thing I'm going to do is I am going to figure out what cameras I was near, because they had cameras there, right? And then I was going to go find the janitor. And I did. And I said, excuse me, sir, I was hoping you could help me. If you could pull up the feed for cameras such and such and such and such, I would appreciate it, because I lost my wallet. I don't know how it left my bag. It's not there. And he's like, oh, you lost your wallet? I said, yes. He goes, Browns? I said, yes. He says, oh, I have your wallet. And I said, oh, thank you very much. And so I didn't let that lost wallet control me. I knew that it was going to come back. It wasn't back, let's say, Saturday. I would have had it by the end of Sunday. But I checked. I went around. I said, there's just no way that I moved it. I didn't put it anywhere. So what we found out is that they were cleaning. And when they were cleaning, they knocked over my bag in the dressing area, and somebody kicked my wallet. It was on the floor or whatever. And that's why I never saw it. That's why every time I walked around, it was nowhere near where I was, because somebody had kicked it. But my point is that you can't get all stressed out. You can't let the problem control you. I also use the Neville Goddard. They call it the SATS technique, and the SATS technique. Believe it or not, guys, is a very, very SATS. Okay, and it's called state akin to sleep. And I did it, and I said, I know that I'm going to find it. And, the fact that they did this to me, I said to myself, I got to do something nice for them. So I'm actually going to buy them a pizza one day this week. So that's important to realize. Don't let your problems own you. When stress hits your ability to ground yourself, it determines your outcome. So don't let that happen. Remember the breathing. Remember the pausing, slowing your response. These are not small skills, guys, even though they seem like it. They're power skills, because whoever controls their nervous system controls the decisions, which affects the reality, which affects their dreams and their success. Section 6, how inner safety unlocks creativity. So creativity doesn't thrive in fear. It thrives in safety. When your system is constantly bracing your mind and narrowing it, your thinking contracts, kind of like your pupil contracts in your eye when there is basically when there's plenty of light, it contracts. When it's dark, it opens, expands. So this whole thing about being safe in your mind, it expands when you feel safe. So ideas connect, solutions appear, innovations flow when you don't become so stressed about a situation, right? Inner safety creates the mental space, and space creates possibility, guys. Section 7, stability in unstable environments. We don't live in stable times, unfortunately. That's reality. Things can happen, like a wallet could go missing. But I knew in that venue that probably somebody wasn't going to steal it. But stability doesn't have to come from the outside. It can come from within us. When your internal state, let's say, changes, you can become harder to shake, harder to derail, harder to quote unquote manipulate. And that's what I like to call emotional resilience. And in section 8, grounding changes decisions. Grounded people decide differently. They don't rush, they don't catastrophize things, they don't assume the worst case scenario. They pause, they assess, they choose, they intentionalize. Grounding turns emotional reactions, okay, into thoughtful responses. And responses shape outcomes every day. Number 9, safety is not weakness. Let's clear this up right off the bat. Safety is not weakness. Safety is readiness. When you feel safe, you can take risks. You can speak up. You can move forward. Fear keeps you small. Safety expands capacity. Let's remember that. And that's the difference, guys. Section 10, emotional regulation as a power skill. In today's world, emotional regulation is leadership. It's the ability to stay composed, to stay present, to stay effective, to stay in the moment. When others spiral, regulate people rise. Now, a lot of other people could have spiraled down. Oh my gosh, the rest of my life. I'm like, okay, so the wallet got lost, and it's going to turn up. It will turn up, no matter what happens. It definitely will turn up, and I can tell you that that's a very, very important thing. Um, and I will tell you, this is something that you definitely can, rise upon. You can understand that. Don't let that thing happen. Like, I'll give you an example. One time something fell, right? A glass broke. Okay, a glass broke. Great. Let's move on. Let's not let it spiral a whole day. Okay, that's important too. Because what happens, you keep compounding, then your body's like, oh, I gotta look for something else wrong. I got something else wrong. And you keep doing that, and your body will do whatever you tell it. So if you look for bad things, it's gonna keep for looking for other bad things. If you're looking for good things, it'll look for good things. So the skill compounds, guys, over time in relationships, in business, and in life, and is one of the most valuable, priceless assets you can build in your life. Section 11, inner peace and performance are key. Peace doesn't slow you down, it sharpens you. When your mind isn't cluttered with fear, performance improves, guys. Focus deepens, energy stabilizes. That's important, guys. And inner peace is not escape, it's efficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. Be sure to check out BelieveMeAchieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations. And remember, when something goes wrong, the next thing's going to be right. Think it, and it will be. Take care, everyone. Be well.